Kudos to me on that one. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. I am Elaine Simpson, and I always like to tell people a little bit about myself. I am a triplet born on Christmas. Yes, that's where you guys go, oh. I'm really old, and that's why it's a black and white photo. But those are actually red stockings that they put us in to take us home. And my mom still hangs them up every Christmas. Puts our little stocking stuffers, our toothbrushes and socks and, the stuff that moms give daughters, right? So within the three of us, two of us are identical. That is my sister Kathleen, and that is me. And we are wearing Wonder Woman aprons. I thought that was appropriate for our topic today. She's also in property management. And then there's her. Can you see a little bit of a difference between us? She's actually an artisan in New York and very, very different from us. But that's a little bit about me. I want to hear about you. Raise your hand if you're an architect. All right, welcome. Raise your hand if you're in construction, whether or not it's a GC, okay. Any construction aspect, wonderful. Mortgage or broker or banking, okay. Real estate sales, oh, great. Property management, interior design. Okay, you've got a couple of hats on then. All right, wonderful. Did I miss anybody?
What about professional engineers?
Professional engineers, absolutely. Who else? You had your hand up? Engineering. Well, you guys just don't want to be ignored, do you? Anyone else? Well, think back to when you were maybe 9 or 10 years old. Are you in the career that you thought you would be in? I know when I was 9 or 10, my dad had a property management company. And I swore I would never go into property management. Well, when you work for a property manager company and he has a property and he has 3 young girls, guess who gets to work at a young age of 5 in property management? I didn't get paid, though, until I was about 18. So I have a lot of free labor that I gave away. We lost our PowerPoint. There we go. Thank you. So I always thought I'd be a doctor, veterinarian, horse doctor, something like that. Most girls want to do that, right? Never did I think property management. So how many of you are doing what you thought you would be doing when you were 9 or 10 years old? Raise your hand. The engineer back there says he knows what he... So you wanted to always be an engineer? Yes. Kudos to you. I went all over the place. Who else went all over the place? Right? How many of you fell into your career? Property management, 101. None of us wake up at 9 years old going, I want to manage a property and manage residents' lives. Never has anyone said. But that's what happens. So how do you take and go from seeing it as a job you'd never want to understanding the power that you have? Well, it's all about being a hero. And when I say hero, most of the time we think of, people with capes, superpowers, climbing walls, dressed up as a Spider-Man. They fly, they leap over buildings. Those are often heroes that we think of. And why is that? Well, because Webster's dictionary says that's what a hero is. Webster's dictionary says a definition of a hero is a mythological or legendary figure. I say not so much. Yes, these people, these characters exist, but they're not real people, right? So Webster's dictionary definition of a hero is wrong. Absolutely wrong. We have a lot of heroes amongst us. We have a lot of heroes in our history. We have a lot of everyday heroes. We have heroes such as Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Mother Teresa. These people stood up for us and for others, for people's rights. Don't you think they're heroes? This is where you say yes? Yes. Okay. If you say no, then we'll have another discussion. But okay. Play along with my game. We have veterans, war heroes. Not because they killed people are they heroes, but because they were willing to risk their lives. Do we have any Military people in here, stand up. Stand up, guys and ladies. Give them a round of applause. Thank you for your service. They are the ones that risked their lives. Their families suffered and gave up so that they could do this and so they could protect us. Those are true heroes. Then, of course, our founding fathers are great examples of true heroes. They're the ones that started our country. They're the ones that took a chance, took a risk. I would consider that a hero. Has anybody ever seen the movie Mystery Men? Yes, no? All right. I have 3 boys. And coming from 3 girls to 3 boys, because we were a blended family, I was one of triplet girls, and when we got married, there were 3 boys, teenage boys. Let me tell you, the difference between girls and guys, amazing. The conversations you have at dinner with boys, totally different than the conversations you have at dinner with daughters. We talk about bodily functions. The boys would talk about things you don't even want to think about. But one of the things we did together is watch a lot of movies. And they loved Mystery Men. And Mystery Men, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, came out in about 1999. And I didn't see it on the big screen. I actually went and rented the movie from this place called Blockbusters. Who here remembers Blockbusters? Yes, I'm dating myself. I get that. But we watched it over and over again. And basically, it was a cast of losers, right? Cast of losers that really were, nobody really talked to, nobody acknowledged, and they wanted to make a difference. They wanted to be good. So they created these characters, these superheroes that had the stupidest, craziest superheroes or super talents that nobody would really have. So like Jeannie Garofalo, I always say her name wrong, but you know who I'm talking about. She was the bowler. So her talent and her superpower was bowling. So she would roll the bowling ball and knock down the evil people, right? There was a guy that was a digger. I mean, just silly things. But it was interesting because some of the quotes that came out of that movie are things that stuck with us and the boys and I remember often. And one of them is, when you doubt your powers, you give power to your doubts. And I always remember that because that's something that we need to, as individuals, keep in mind because we have powers. We have powers and we should not doubt them. But it's a great movie. It's funny. It's worth watching. Some heroes that most recently have been acknowledged and should be, we're out again, are our healthcare providers through COVID, frontliners, our police, our firemen, our people that worked at the grocery stores. Those people are heroes. They don't wear a cape. They don't wear a costume. They may wear a uniform, but they don't wear a cape. Do you ever look at your shadow? Do you ever notice anything flying behind you? Usually it's my hair, but we're going to pretend it's a cape today. Because everyday heroes, that's what we are. Those of us in real estate, construction, whether or not it's engineering, architecture, building, managing, sales, we impact people every single day. I'm going to do it from a property management standpoint. When I look back at the things I did, I had so many hats on when I worked on site. I was a baker, because back in the day, we'd have Otis Spunkmeyer cookies every day for our customers that would come in, and I gained about 20 pounds. We would do event planning. We would manage a small city, if you look at it that way. We would act as counselors for roommates that were fighting. We would act as mediators between neighbors that didn't get along. If you had a senior property, it may be just keeping somebody company, having a cup of coffee. It may be helping them write a check, although most people don't write checks anymore. We did a lot of different things. But we never really see past that, right? We see the day that we did those jobs, we checked it off the list, we thought we were doing a good job, but really, did we really have any clue of the impact that we were making on these people's lives? My youngest son, Kevin, when I was pregnant with him, I was managing an apartment community. One of the good, bad things of managing an apartment community is evictions. And the reason I say it's good or bad is because there's some residents that you feel really bad that they're in a predicament and that you have to evict them. Then there's others that you want to throw a party with the team after they leave, right? So I had a resident, Sharon. We're going to call her Sharon. That's not a real name, protecting her from the innocent. But she was just a pain in my rear end. She lived at my property for 3 years, and I'm telling you, when she got evicted, the sun came out, the birds were chirping, there were rainbows and unicorns. She didn't pay her rent, she had boyfriend issues, she, loud music issues, she was just a nightmare. We did not part ways peacefully. I actually had to get a restraining order against her, right? I get divorced. 10 years later, I'm taking my son to the airport. Now, I don't know if you've ever had to take your son, 10 years old, flying for the first time by themselves. Anybody ever have to do that? I cried. I'm not kidding you. It was a 45-minute drive to the airport. I cried 3 or 4 times on the way there. My ex-husband, had moved out of town, so the agreement was that he could go visit his dad for Christmas. So I'm bummed he's going to be gone at Christmas, but I'm also my baby. He's 10 years old, and he's flying by himself. Oh, my gosh, I'm getting so old, and he's getting so old. So we park, we go in, and because he's an unaccompanied minor, we have to go to the gate agent. And I have to wait at the gate until he takes off. So we're talking with the gate agent, and we're talking about some things that he likes to do, books and things like that. She's trying to get to know him a little bit. And as we're talking, I start realizing she looks vaguely familiar. Then my heart starts pumping. My hands start getting sweaty. I start getting I'm starting to freak out is really what I'm doing. This is the woman I evicted 10 years earlier that I had a restraining order against. Yeah. My son was standing in front of me. I put my hands on his shoulders, and I start slowly backing up. I didn't know what was going to happen, because not only was I noticing and realizing who she was realizing who I was. And I could tell. Well, you know how they have the barricades, like the rope barricades? I was up against that. She's coming around the counter, and she's getting aggressive. I mean, she's pushing people out of the way, and I'm like, oh, I'm going down. I'm going to be in the newspaper tomorrow morning. It's done. See ya. She comes running up to me. She has tears in her eyes. I'm going to try to do this without getting emotional, because I always do. I cry at puppy chow commercials, so that gives you an idea of how weepy-eyed I am. She comes up to me, gives me this big hug, throws herself on me, and says, thank you. Thank you for giving me tough love. Thank you for making me get my act together. Thank you, because without you, I wouldn't be here today. That got me thinking, how many other people have we positively impacted? Have we been heroes to and not even know it? Think about that. I'm sure you've got examples of that, and you probably don't even realize it. I would not have known that evicting her was a good thing and that she would not see me as a hero had I not run into her 10 years later. I worked for a national company several years back, and we had properties throughout Atlanta, Virginia, and things like that. And I was on property at a senior community. It was a senior affordable community. And I'm there working, and a woman comes up to me and says, can I talk with you? Well, she was too young to be a resident, so I figured she must be a daughter or daughter-in-law of a resident. Didn't know what the conversation was going to go like, so I suggested we go into the office. You never want to have a discussion in the hallway with other people walking around. And she comes in, and she sits down, and she gets a little bit emotional. And she explains that her mother, who had been living at the property for about 5 or 6 years, had passed away a couple weeks ago. And that she really wanted to thank the staff and wanted to do something nice for the staff because they took such good care of her. In particularly, a maintenance technician named Tyrone. See, Tyrone, for the last 5 or 6 years that she lived there, would go to visit her a couple, 2, 3 times a week on his break. The daughter made sure that I knew it was a break, and have coffee or tea with her. Maybe take her garbage out. And that was it. None of the staff, I didn't know about it. None of the staff knew about it. He was very quiet. He didn't do it to get kudos or anything like that. He did it because he felt that she needed it. Well, it turns out the daughter was working 2 jobs trying to help pay the rent for the mom. And so she rarely got to see the mom, but felt guilty about it. And the one thing that made her feel better is that she knew that Tyrone would check in on her. Tyrone was a hero. Think of how he positively impacted not only the resident, but the resident's family. And again, didn't know anything about it until somebody came and told me about it. Tyrone, actually a couple weeks after I heard this, was driving home from work one day, drove past the competition community a couple miles away, and noticed, it was about 6:30, the office was closed, noticed that there was water gushing out of the building. They had had a water main break. So he went in, got in the building, was able to turn off the water valve, called the management company, they came out. He didn't have to do that. And in fact, we could have gotten a few residents, right, if some of the units were destroyed. But he didn't do that. He went and did the right thing. The management company, who was not the management company we worked for, it's truly our competition, actually recognized him at their awards banquet. It takes special people to work with people in their lives. It's hard. Sometimes we just wonder, I was talking in the back of the room just a moment ago, and it's like golf, right? Anybody play golf in here? All right, I'm learning. I don't play, I'm learning. I'm failing miserably, but I'm learning. But, you know, you have a bad hole, and you think, I'm done, I hate this game, don't know why anybody plays it. Why try to put a little ball in the hole? And then the next hole, you have a great shot, and you're like, yes! I want to keep playing this, I love this game. Yeah, that's kind of what property management, real estate is like for me, right? You have clients that when they just drive you crazy, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't know why I do this, I don't know why I put up with it. But then when you meet that one client that's so grateful and so nice and so great to work with, you're like, okay, I'm back in love with real estate again. Does anybody ever feel that way, or is it just me? It's my bipolar personality, I'm sure, but it's up and down. I speak at a lot of conferences, and I was in Chicago at a conference a few years ago. There's a long conference, there's a week-long conference, housing conference. And I was there attending and speaking and got the news that my aunt had passed away. And we were very close, and so I wanted to go to the funeral. But I had to be in Chicago right up until the day before the funeral. So what my plan was, I changed my flight, and I was going to fly from Chicago to Atlanta to do the funeral, and then fly from Atlanta to Phoenix after the funeral that day. I had to be in Phoenix on Monday for another conference. So I thought, okay, great plan, got it done. My flight was at 6 a.m. in the morning out of O'Hare. Does anybody know what time I had to get up to get to O'Hare at 6 o'clock in the morning? It's about 3. 3:30, 3. I'm packing, and you know it's been a rough week, and I'm walking out up to the desk clerk to check out. She's checking me out, and I go to reach in my purse to get my wallet out, and I don't have my purse. Or I don't have my wallet. Which money isn't that big of a deal, but has anybody tried to go through TSA without ID lately? Not so good. So I start to panic a little bit, and Z, who happens to be the night clerk, says, don't worry, this has happened before. We'll call the police, they'll fax over a police report, and that'll get you through TSA. What she failed to tell me is it's like going through TSA and being stripped down and asked all sorts of questions that you didn't realize the government even knew about you, but that's a different story. Anyhow, so we get the police report, and I start walking out the door of the hotel to catch a cab. But wait, I don't have any money. I don't have a credit card. Z sees me, she comes up, she's like, are you okay? Because I'm done. I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. And I said, I don't have any money to pay for a cab. This is all a waste of time. And she said, hold on, I'll loan you the money. Now, Z was a night clerk. She did not make a lot of money, but she was willing to lend me the $60 to get to the airport. She probably didn't expect to ever get that money back, which I did pay her. I wired it to her that next day, so she did get it. But I wouldn't expect to get it back, right? She did it, she gave it to me, and it's probably a lot of money to her, bless you. So I thought about Z a lot and thought, you know what, she's a hero. She's in hotel management, similar to property management. What a hero she is. Well, a few weeks later, I get a package in the mail. And that package has my wallet in it with all my credit cards. And honestly, the biggest concern I had about my wallet was the photos of my kids, because we don't take photos anymore. They're all on our phone. But these were actual, the pictures were curling photos, and I loved them. They were all there. The cash was there. There was a receipt that I didn't recognize, which was from the US Post Office. The person that found my wallet took the money out of my wallet to pay for it to be sent to me and put the receipt in my wallet to show that that's what they took out. Talk about honest. Talk about a hero. Well, I thought, oh my gosh, this person needs to be recognized. I need to thank this person. But his address was only a partial address. So it's hard to find him. The US Postal Service would not help me. So I called one of the TV stations and explained the scenario, similar to how I explained it to you. They helped me find him. So, and this is before Zoom, believe it or not. So we did a video conference where I got to thank him on TV, and we got to talk a little bit. You can YouTube it if you want. It's again, I cried. I know it's no big surprise there. But I thought, another hero. We're surrounded by heroes. Later that year, I went back to the same hotel because you know what? Z was the reason I went back to the same hotel. Anytime I go to Chicago, I go back to that same hotel. Why? Because they took care of me. Z took care of me. I arrived and I asked if Z was working. And they said, no. And she always worked the night shift. I'm like, oh. They said, no, she's working day shift. She's now the day manager. Apparently, her supervisor saw the news story where I talked about her and her service to me, and she got promoted. So I'd like to say, I got her promoted. I'm sure she did it on her own. Anyhow, we saw each other and we talked, and she said, I really appreciate you recognizing me. And I said, well, you were a hero. You took care of me, and I would not have been able to get to the funeral. And she said, I was brought up this way. It was the right thing to do. The same thing that the gentleman that they interviewed on TV that found my wallet said. It was the right thing to do. I was brought up that way. So that got me to thinking even more. Are we bringing up heroes? Think about it. Not only are we heroes because we're taking care of people, but are we raising our children to be heroes? I like to say we are everyday heroes because we are heroes every day. Because we are heroes every day. Think about that resident or that potential buyer for the house. Not every experience is because of a good thing, right? In senior housing, we deal with a lot of seniors that may have lost a loved one, may not be able to live on their own any longer. The family feels guilty. The adult children can no longer take care of them. It's not always a joyous occasion. It's not like a newlywed couple that's getting their first house. So often we become that hero to them, walking them through the process, holding their hand, taking care of them. That's something we do as a job, but we're also in this business because we are heroes, and that's what we do. We take care of people. We provide shelter. We build it. We manage it. We provide them a space for them to sleep every night safely. If they didn't feel safe, they wouldn't be able to sleep. We provide a place for them to have their grandchildren walk for the first time across their floor. We provide a space for couples on a first date to have coffee at a Starbucks at a Caribou, Starbucks, whatever it is, whatever coffee company it is. That's what we do because we are heroes. Because we are heroes every day. Thank you.